As your top 10 are the 10 spots that this European semifinal will get to the CrossFit Games event number 2. 5 rounds for time, 100 double unders, 20 toes to bar, 10 front squats at 225. And Lucy, you've seen 3 heats go. How are we looking at these go rut steps of success so far?
So we're looking for relaxed and unbroken on those double unders and toes bar so that we can hold a strong squat pace on the front squats and reduce that time and attention through the midline.
Top 10 so far in this heat. As we see the Jukic brothers, lane 6 and lane 7. Not only are they back together again as far as training is concerned, they've been competing together for a very long time. And now they are side by side, sitting in a qualifying spot.
Yeah, and it was a similar position in 2022. Luca lost it on the last event, and obviously they were both heartbroken, pulled out with illness the following year as well. So this year they'll be looking to, have a positive result with both of them going to the games.
And there's no one that wants Luca to make it more than Lazar.
For sure.
That
Reports
relationship
are
they have,
heartbroken for him in 2022.
10 seconds.
Top 10 athletes coming into the weekend after one event.
The final heat of event number 2 for your men's individual.
Win a CrossFit World Tour visiting CrossFit gyms around the globe. Create an account, scan the QR code, or visit hustleup-app.com to enter. Drawing will take place on June 20th, 2024. And Lucy, we're talking about the Jukic brothers with Lazar and Luca. But another Luca in this heat, Luka Vunjak, sitting 3rd overall. Had a great open and a great start to the weekend. And more on Luka Vunjak. Let's go down to Lauren Smith.
I feel like people might be a bit surprised to see him up in this top heat. I'm not surprised. It was just off the back of that running workout, because that's where I think even to his coaches, he pulled off something special. You've already mentioned he was 4th in the World Wide Open, and he's finished 9th and 14th in the last 2 semi-finals. He's always been on that cusp, and he's doing it for the athletes that have part-time and full-time jobs. He's not a full-time athlete. He coaches in his gym up to 7 hours a day. He barely makes any money, and I know that he's been working with John from the program, John Singleton. And over the last of the year, he's just seen his CrossFit go from strength to strength. And they all believe that he has an opportunity to take one of those later places and book his first ever ticket to the CrossFit Games.
He's in an absolutely stacked heat as we are in the 4th and final heat. Lazar Jukic in the center part of your screen, getting to the barbell first. In close pace with him above in the gray shorts is Luka Vunjak. Uldis Upenix, Luka Jukic have joined them, as well as Colin Bossard. White shirt, gray shorts. As all athletes are on their first round of front squats. And Lucy, we've seen this for 3 events now, as Luka Vunjak actually has to get called back because he did not advance his bar, which opened the door back to Lazar Jukic. But we've seen 3 rounds seem to be okay. 4th round gets a bit real, but the 5th and final round is what these athletes should be preparing themselves for, because physically is one thing, but understanding what it's going to feel like and accepting that is another.
Exactly, and it seems to be that, that heart rate spike from the double unders is the thing that's really starting to kind of catch people out. You can feel it as you go through, 50 double unders for elite athletes, absolutely fine. And then as soon as you start to go towards the kind of 70 to 100 mark, that's where you start to feel your heart rate spike every round. But then, every time you brace on those front squats, the impact that that has on your heart rate, and then going into the double unders from those front squats, it seems to be really catching people out.
Lazar Jukic on the right, followed by Uldis Upenix and Luka Vunjak. Now, Luka Vunjak was actually in the lead after the first heat, but had a misstep of rolling his bar forward. Once you're done with your 10 squats, you got to roll the bar forward, and he ran back. And here, and if we get tight races at the end like we saw in the previous heat, those 5 to 6 seconds there could come into play.
Yeah, he's going to kick himself for that. At the same time, it's then trying not to panic when you're going into those double unders and seeing again that spike in heart rate purely because of that panic. So trying to stay composed now that he has made that mistake is really important.
Luka Vuniak, 4th in the Worldwide Open. GoWOD is the official mobility partner of the CrossFit Games. Take your mobility test for mobility to the next level with GoWOD's personalized program and take advantage of the 14-day free trial to start your journey. Second round of front squats, just to the right side of your screen, Heinrich Haapalainen, who's been second at semifinals the last 2 years and just seems to be one of those quiet, steady, non-flashy European male athletes, but are actually have fantastic success at the semifinal level.
100%. He's a bit of a BKG in that sense. Just pretty consistent, always there, but, you know, doesn't necessarily get the recognition or have those, like, flash pan moments.
2 rounds done, 3rd round. 100 double unders. All these athletes are now chasing the time to beat set in heat number 3 by Michael Wesolowski at 11:39.84. And in the white, Colin Bossard, who just missed out by 1 spot last year, is trying to make his bid for his first CrossFit Games. And more on him. Let's go down to Lauren Smith.
He is indeed trying to make his bid for the CrossFit Games, and he's doing it after having a really bad back injury in December. He wasn't even sure if he was going to compete this season, but he felt it had healed just enough as he headed into the Open, which he did a couple of the workouts with, on the women's side, Miriam van Roor, who did another great Open herself. These two come out of Switzerland. They're really flying the flag for that nation. And he pinpointed event number 2 and 3 as 2 that is going to be his strongest over the course of the entire weekend. So fingers crossed for Colin. It's only going to go up from here.
Colin Bossard, as you said, missed the games last year by just 16 points. Got first in quarterfinal event, 24.2. That was the 3 rounds of 50 wall ball shots and burpees over the boxes. Luka Vuniak is just ahead of Lazar Jukic. Lazar Jukic winning the 2023 CrossFit semifinals here in Europe, as Bossard and Uldis Upenix now joining your top 2 athletes in this heat. Round number 3 of 5. 10 squats, 225. Luka Vuniak, your leader, on the left, rolling his bar forward. Lazar Jukic on the right, just behind him. Uldis Upenix slowing a bit on his last couple of reps. He's your leader after the first event, as Luka Jukic on the right side of the screen is making his way to the bar for his 4th round of front squats. Starting round number 4, Luka Vuniak on the left, Lazar Jukic on the right, 100 double unders, 300 double unders in. And Lucy, 100 is a pretty large set if you don't train them. And if you don't train them, these 5 rounds, that's gonna add up. And we've seen that, not necessarily like the physical demands of this, but the fatigue maybe affecting the mental side of that. We're taking big breaks, and you say it's like, hey, it's just a double under. We don't need that big of a break like we're doing a 225 front squat.
Yeah, you know, but it's about keeping that concentration, because although athletes should be pretty familiar with high volume double unders, but it is that chance where you can just switch off. And it's not necessarily that you switch off during the actual set, but if you trip before you pick up the rope, those are the times where you start to see, you know, a 2-second break turn into a 5-second break, and all of a sudden then someone has picked it up before you.
Luka Vuniak still in the lead. This is the 4th round of 5, 4th heat. Time to beat 11:39.84, set by Michael Wesolowski in the previous heat. Now, Jonakoski, who was your Open winner, quarterfinal winner, taking that 34th place finish. He was all the way back in heat number 1. He still has a top 5 time, however, in this event, as Luka Vuniak is working his way to the bar for the 4th time. Just past the 8-minute mark. Luka Vuniak Working his way to his front squats. 2 reps in. Uldis Upenix has now moved ahead of Lazar Jukic. So Uldis made a move on the toes to bar. We saw his front squats were a little bit slower in the 3rd round. And we'll see if Lazar Jukic can catch him as Luka Vunjak gets a no rep. Still advancing his bar. Henrik Haapalainen, right side of your screen, now in the mix. Trying to keep pace with Lazar Jukic, and Uldis Upenix is moving forward of Lazar. So it looked actually a much better set for Uldis on that round.
Yeah, for sure. You can just see that little pause at the top of every rep on the first few reps, and then he starts to get into it. But, you know, if, as you said with the double unders, 2 seconds turn into 5 seconds, and the impact of that little pause over the first 4 reps can start to add up, and that's where
and now we start to see that happen there for Luka Vunjak. Took a break, and then that's a tough one where it clips the heel and rips the rope handle out of your hands.
You don't feel more rookie than when that happens.
So Luka Vunjak just lost himself about 5 or 6 seconds there as his belt is starting to come up and now gets in the way of his rope.
He's not kicked that far enough out of the way either.
So Luka Vunjak, a little bit of self-sabotage on this last round as we are approaching the 10-minute mark. Uldis Upenix has yet to break once, and he might be closing the gap on Vunjak. Oh, announcer's curse. There it is. Say they go unbroken and then they break.
You know what? It'll be interesting to see whether or not Vunjak makes a decision to put that belt back on. I wouldn't be surprised if he does, but it would be a risky thing to try and win the event if he doesn't. Oh,
Vunjak is done. Right behind him is Uldis, and you're right, he's not even going to grab the belt. Upenix wasted no time to the rig.
He may as well have grabbed the belt if he made that decision to chalk.
So Uldis Upenix gets a no rep. He made a big move on the 4th set of toes to bar. Lazar Jukic still in 3rd. Actually, Henrik Haapalainen might be close, but Luka Vunjak, who's been basically leading since the 1st round, had a all but disastrous 5th round of double unders, and it barely had anything to do with his skill, and it had to do with things getting in the way. And Uldis is off. Vunjak is off. We got a foot race. Uldis is belting up. Now Luka Vunjak did not bring it with him, and we have a 10-rep race for the win.
Oh.
No rep for Vunjak. Time to beat 11:39, set by Wesolowski in the previous heat. 5 reps for Uldis on the right. Luka Vunjak is trying to run him down. 1 final rep for Uldis and make it back to back. Uldis Upenix wins event number 2. Henrik Haapalainen, 3 reps left to go. He's actually ahead of Lazar Jukic, who is falling off the pace. And Haapalainen basically doing what we said he does, just quietly taking a top 3 finish in this heat. Lazar Jukic, 1 rep left to go. Should be good enough for a top 5 time, maybe top 6. As some of the times in the previous heats are coming into play. Yellow Hosta in lane 2, top part of your screen in the blue, trying to catch Colin Bossard at the bottom. And it looks like Yellow Hosta has moved just ahead. So Yellow Hosta, who just made about as big of a splash as you can make. Oh, Bossard closed in on him. And we've got some races here, and Lucy, I don't have the official times yet between Uldis and Vunjak, but it looks like they were only separated by 2 seconds. And you look at rope getting pulled out of your hands on the double unders, the belt falling off and tripping you up, and then the misstep of the bar rolling forward, losing by 2 seconds. So you can't really be too mad about a 2nd place finish. However, knowing 1st place was there and had nothing to do with your fitness.
For sure, and especially if Vunjak has any kind of weakness events coming up, he's going to want to protect himself as much as possible for that. So, you know, that difference in 2nd to 1st could come into play later down the line. It's also interesting because that difference in seconds could actually have been the impact of having a tighter midline because of the support of the belt as well.
Front part of your screen is rookie Nika Maserades. Michael Smith above him. Michael Smith, one-time games athletes trying to make it back. Had a good day yesterday as he'll get across the finish line at 13:39 as Nika just behind him. And Luka Jukic is last on the floor. We are at the 14-minute mark. And we had heard yesterday that, Lazar was actually in the first heat based off his qualification coming out of quarterfinals and had finished the event and went to find Luka to try to tell him about the run course and how to pace it out and coach him up a little bit, but Luka, not the finish he was hoping to build upon after the first event. And one athlete remaining on the floor, and that was your other rookie in this heat. That's Mark Carmona. So you had two rookies in the top 10 at their first semifinals. Mark was one of them. Mark Carmona, again, another one of those Spanish athletes on the men's side with his semifinal debut. 3 reps remaining before he hit the 18-minute cap. We had a wild finish with Uldis Upeniks and Luka Vunjak, as both were under the time to beat coming in, set by Michael Wesolowski. And Carmona just doing everything he can to get through this last set of 20 toes to bar. And a no rep for Carmona. 3 reps left to go for him. 2 minutes left.
And that's that midline fatigue. Every rep is a struggle.
And they see that a lot of times. We see that where the straight knees and pointed toes turns into bent knees and extended toes, and the little hitch in the middle of the kip.
Doing everything you can to get those toes to the bar.
And Carmona slowly making his way towards the last 10 reps on these front squats. 225 on the bar, 50 total reps for this event.
90 seconds remaining. This is Mark Carmona.
Mark Carmona, 28 years old, out of CrossFit Euro. The coaches and friends cheering him on the side. 1 minute remaining. He's just trying to hold on as he had just one more rep to go.
Oh, come on. Just squat clean it.
And you see the grimace on his face.
Oh,
that was cold. Not necessarily wrong.
No.
That's a good call.
Come on. Stand it up. There we go. Get across the line. Oh. He's hurting.
Uldis Upeniks takes the heat. Takes the heat and takes the event. This is actually Uldis Upeniks' 6th career event win that has toes to bar in it. So we think running might be a secret to event win. It's toes to bar as well.
So we saw Luka Vunjak with that early lead, but then that mistake with the round 1 transition on the barbell. Neck and neck with Lazar and Aldous Upenix the whole way. Tight races throughout, which was really good to see. And then that belt issue getting in the way with those double unders. The chalking on the transition, which then gave Aldous a chance to get straight up on the bar. And ultimately that was a thing that saw him carry on through. That no rep as well on rep 1 was super costly for Luka Vunjak and left Aldous a chance to cross the line first.
Aldous Upenix takes the heat, takes the event, back-to-back wins to start the weekend. He's down with Lauren Smith.